We are on the record for hearings in the matters listed in the North Dakota Industrial Commission hearing docket for April 23rd. I'm David Garner, hearing examiner for these hearings. We're at the hearing room for the Department of Mineral Resources, Oil and Gas Division, and it is 9 a.m. On the docket, the following matters will be continued or dismissed. Case number 31627, continued. Case number 31630, continued. Case number 31631, continued. Case number 31636, dismissed. Case number 31644, dismissed. Case number 31646, continued. Case number 31647, continued. Case number 31648, continued. Case number 31649, continued. Case number 31650, continued. The administrative docket starts on page 4 with case number 31636 and goes through case number 31668. These cases will be here in the next room with Michael Zisch. Audio recordings of the cases of the administrative docket will be placed on the Oil and Gas website by the end of the week. If you wish to appear on one of the matters in the administrative docket, please appear in the next room. If there is opposition to the matter, it will be brought back into this hearing room to be heard, and your statements of evidence will be taken. We'll begin with moving to case number 31625. Application of Kraken Operating LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the new home Bakken Pool to establish an overlapping stand-up 5120-acre spacing unit described as sections 3, 4, 9, 10, 15, 16, 21, and 22, Township 158 North, Range 97 West, Williams County, North Dakota, and authorize one horizontal well to be drilled on such unit, or granting such other relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Kraken Operating LLC. I have three witnesses appearing telephonic, Justin Payne, Brian Lucero, and Josh Lochner, and all three should be on the line.
Mr. Payne. Mr. Payne?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Justin, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed and in what capacity, and give us your business address?
My name is Justin J-S-T-I-N T-A-Y-N-E. I'm employed by Kraken Resources, and our business address is 945 Bunker Hill Road, Houston, Texas, 77024, and I'm a landman with Kraken Resources.
Okay. And Justin, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes, I have.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the land matters associated with the proposed spacing units?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'd move the testimony Mr. Payne be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And Justin, let's start with L1, if you can just identify the area of the proposed spacing.
Sure. Exhibit L1 is the regional locator map showing the new Bakken Pool in Township 158 North, Range 97 West of Williams County.
Okay. And then moving on to L2, can you identify for us the proposed spacing unit and your working interest?
Sure. Exhibit L2 outlines sections 3, 4, 9, 10, 16, 15, 21, and 22, and 158, 97 West. In sections 4 and 9, practical the working interest of 95.03%. In sections 16 and 21, Kraken holds the working interest of 74.8%. In sections 3 and 10, Kraken holds zero working interest, as well as 15 and 22. For the total 5,428 spacing units, Kraken holds a working interest of 42.46%.
Okay. I have no further questions for Mr. Payne. I'd offer the land exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from staff? Mr. Lucero.
Yes, sir.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, sir, I do.
Brian, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed, in what capacity, and give us your business address?
Yes, sir. My name is Brian Lucero. I am employed by Kraken Resources as their geology manager. Our business address, 945 Bunker Hill Road, Suite 1200, Houston, Texas, 77022.
And Brian, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes, sir, I have.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes, I have.
And are you familiar with the geology underlying the proposed spacing units?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Let's start with G1. Can you describe the structure underlying this spacing unit?
Yes, sir. Exhibit G1 is a structure map based on the top of the middle box formation. 50-foot contour interval showing dip roughly to the south, and it also shows the location of our type block.
Okay. Let's move on to G2. Can you walk us through your ISOPAC map?
Yes, sir. G2 is the ISOPAC map of the middle bucket formation. It's on a half-foot contour interval, and again shows the location of our type block.
Okay. And then moving on to G3, can you describe what you're looking at in your type log?
G3 is the type block for this area. It's the OA number 1, and it shows a representative log through the middle block.
Okay. I have no further questions. I would offer the geology exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? Mr. Lochner,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, I do.
Josh, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed in what capacity, and give us your business address?
Yes, my name is Joshua Lochner. I'm employed by Kraken Resources as a reservoir engineer. Our business address is 945 Bunker Hill Road, Houston, Texas 77024.
Okay. And Josh, let's look at E1. Can you tell us how you would intend to develop the spacing unit?
Exhibit E1 is the proposed development diagram for the proposed 5120 acre spacing unit. The green dashed line represents the lease line well that we're proposing in this exhibit, and the gray dashed lines are wells that we have presented in previous hearing. The well to be drilled is 4 miles well from the south, and the estimated spud date is November of this year.
Okay. Let's move on to G2 then. Can you tell us how you would propose to drill and complete the well?
Exhibit G2 is the lateral wellbore schematic for a 20,000 foot or 4 mile lateral well. It shows the string casing design with the conductor, casing, intermediate casing, and production liner, and identifies the completion method as a cemented liner plugging perf with 167 foot stage space.
Okay. And then moving on to E3, can you summarize the reservoir data for us?
E3 is the reservoir data for the proposed spacing unit. The reservoir pressure in this area is about 5,800 psi, with a porosity of 89% and water saturation of 50-70%. We estimate ultimate recovery for a 4 mile well from 735,000 barrels of oil. GOR, we expect to rise the first year or 2 years of production from 700 to 1,500 SDS per barrel, and then hold steady at around 1,500 from thereafter.
Okay. And then moving on to G4, can you describe the economics for us?
Exhibit G4, their single well economic analysis for the proposed spacing unit. We assumed 100% working interest and 80% NRI for this analysis. And when considering 735,000 barrels EUR and an initial investment of $12.6 million, we ran at $60 for oil and $3 for gas. This generated a well value of about $4.4 million with an
Josh, in your opinion, would the proposed 5120 to allow for that lease line well prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
So,
Okay, I have no further questions. I'd offer the engineering exhibits and the gas capture plan affidavit.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Josh, looking at your E1, your section line well, you're proposing to target that as a Middle Bakken well, correct?
Hey, Josh, you still there?
yes,
Did you hear the question?
yes, I said,
You're cutting out. We didn't hear you say anything.
we are planning on drilling the well at Middle Bakken.
Okay. Then the, I'm again looking at your E1, the other wells in the 2560 to the west, are they actually proposed as Three Forks targeted wells, or will they, as depicted on E1, or they will be Middle Bakken as well?
Those are not depicted as Three Forks. It's just a matter of perhaps the colors didn't show up well. I showed those in gray just to show that they were previously heard and not really the matter of this particular case.
Okay, so
They're not meant to be shown as Three Forks, though.
okay, so the legend up in the upper left, that the Three Forks undeveloped, that's not the gray bars. It's must be purple or something like that.
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Josh, this lease line well in your infill development, are all these wells going to be drilled from one pad? And if so, where is that pad at?
We're exploring different options. It seems at this point likely that we'll be drilling these two separate pads, but both of them will be located on the south side of the unit as per our current plan.
Thank you.
That concludes our hearing for case number 31625. Case number 31626, application of Kraken Operating LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Blue Ridge Bakken Pool to establish an overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit described as sections 21, 28, and 33, Township 159 North, Range 100 West, Williams County, North Dakota, and authorize 3 horizontal wells to be drilled on such unit, or granting such other relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Kraken Operating LLC. And Mr. Examiner, it will be the same 3 witnesses testifying in this case.
And they're still under oath.
Okay. And Justin, let's start with L1. Can you just identify the area of the proposed spacing unit?
Sure. Exhibit L1 shows a regional locator map of the Blue Ridge Bakken Pool in Township 159 North, 100 West, in Williams County, North Dakota.
Okay. And then L2, can you identify the spacing unit and your working interest?
Sure. Exhibit L2 identifies the spacing unit in yellow as sections 21, 28, 33 of 159 North, 100 West. In sections 16 and 21, practical working interest of 98.99. In sections 28 and 33, practical working interest of 96.71%. For the total of 1,920 acre spacing unit, practical a working interest allocation of 96.4953%.
Okay. I have no further questions. I'd offer the land exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? You can proceed.
Okay. Brian, let's look at your G1. Can you describe the structure underlying this proposed spacing unit?
Yes, sir. Exhibit G1 is a structure map, again, based on the top of the Middle Bakken Formation. Shows a 50-foot contour interval, regional dip to the south in this area, and again shows the location of our type log.
Okay. And then let's go to G2, walk us through the ISOPAC map.
Yes, sir. G2 is an isopac map of the Middle Bakken Formation, half-foot contour interval across this area, and again, location of our type log is shown.
Okay. And then moving on to G3, the type log, can you describe for us what you're looking at on that type log?
G3 is our type log from drag test number 1 for this area, and it shows a representative log of the Middle Bakken Formation.
I have no further questions that offer the geology exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? You can proceed.
All right, Josh, let's look at E1. Can you describe how you would intend to develop this spacing unit?
Exhibit E1 is the proposed development diagram for the proposed 1920 acre spacing unit comprised of sections 33, 28, and 21. It shows three 3-mile wells with the green dashed line inside of the blue box, which represent the wells that we are proposing to drill in this hearing. The estimated spud date for these wells is October of this year, and we plan to drill them from the south.
Okay. And moving on to E2, how would you propose to drill and complete the wells?
So the E2 is the 15,000-foot lateral wellbore schematic, showing the conductor casing, surface casing, intermediate casing, and production liner, and outlining the for completion methodology and the cemented liner.
Okay. And then E3, can you take us through the reservoir data?
Exhibit E3 is the reservoir data for the proposed spacing unit. The Bakken thickness is between 25 and 35 feet, and with an oil in place per section of 6 MMBO, we expect the EUR for a 1920 acre well here to be about 535,000 barrels of oil. We expect the recovery factor to be 3 to 4%, with a rising GOR over the first year and a half, 700 to 1,500 SDS per barrel.
Okay. And then moving on to E4, can you walk us through the economics?
Exhibit E4, single well economic analysis, proposed spacing unit. For each of the 3 wells, we are seeking 535,000 barrel EUR recovery with an estimated initial investment of $3.8 million. We ran the economics at $65 flat oil price, $1 flat gas price, which yields a 25% return on investment of 1.26 and a well value of just over $2.5 million.
And Josh, then in your opinion, would establishment of the 1920 to allow for these 3 wells, 3-mile laterals, would that prevent waste, protect correlative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes, I would.
Okay, I have no further questions that offer the engineering exhibits and the gas capture plan affidavit.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Josh, you said you're gonna drill these wells from the south. Are you gonna use that existing pad on the south side?
We explored that as an option, but we decided it was probably better to build a new pad and have a little bit more certainty on the facilities and the build and everything.
And these 3 would be drilled from that pad?
Yes, it either be drilled from that pad, or we're also exploring adding a well to the east-west and separating this into 2 separate pads, so that the space that the step outs on the drill side aren't too extreme.
And on your exhibit E4 you're using a $65 oil price, and in the last case, you used a $60 oil price. Is this project economic at $60 oil?
It is economic, so it is, of course, a little bit skinnier. The reason that I wanted to run both the 65 up with the previous, one of our previous hearings was the in-unit well for the 5120 spacing unit, and that was run at $60, so I wanted to be consistent with those economics on that for the lease line portion of the exhibit.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes our hearing for case number 31626. Case number 31627, application of Meritz Petroleum Corp. For an order amending the applicable orders for the Riding Rock Bakken Pool to establish 4 overlapping stand-up 1920 acre spacing units described as sections 4, 9, and 16, sections 5, 8, and 17, sections 20, 29, and 32, and sections 21, 28, and 33, Township 161 North, Range 101 West, Divide County, North Dakota, and authorize 5 horizontal wells to be drilled on each such unit, granting such other relief as may be appropriate. This case has been continued to our May hearings. Concludes our hearing for case number 31627. Case number 31628, application of Whiting Oil and Gas Corp. For an order amending the applicable orders for the Foreman Butte Bakken Pool to establish 2 overlapping stand-up 25 60-acre spacing units described as sections 4, 9, 16, and 21, and sections 5, 8, 17, and 20, Township 150 North, Range 102 West, Mackenzie County, North Dakota, and authorize 3 horizontal wells to be drilled on each such unit, or granting such other relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Whiting Oil and Gas Corp. Have 3 witnesses appearing telephonically, Greg Sandberg, John Prim, and Caitlin McNeely, and I need to call them. Hey, Greg, can you guys hear me? All right. Good, got him on, yep.
Mr. Sandberg,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, sir.
Greg, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed and what capacity, and give us your business address?
Greg Sandberg, landman, Whiting, subsidiary of Ford Energy, address 1001 Fannin Street, Suite 1500, Houston, Texas 77002.
Greg, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes, I have.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes, they were.
And are you familiar with the land matters associated with the proposed spacing units?
Yes, I am.
I'd move the testimony of Mr. Sandberg be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And Greg, let's start with L1. Can you identify the proposed spacing units?
Yep. So L1's locator map showing section 4, 9, 16, and 21, and 5, 8, 17, and 20, Township 150 North, Range 102 West, the 2 proposed spacing units.
Okay. And then moving on to L2, can you describe your working interest in those 2 proposed spacing units?
Sure. In the easterly unit there, 4, 9, 16, and 21, we have a working interest of about 93.87%. In the westerly one, 5, 8, 17, and 20 in the red box there, we have a working interest of about 57.77%.
Okay. And then moving on to L3, can you go through the working interest in the underlying spacing units?
Absolutely. Starting there at the northeast in the blue hash box, section 4.9, working interest is 92.74%. Moving to the southeast, green box, 16 and 21, 95% working interest. Skipping back up to the northwest, sections 5 and 8, we have a 92.7% working interest. And finally, in the southwest there, 17 and 20, we have a 23.86% working interest. I will point out that section 17 and 21 are currently undeveloped for Bakken. We do have a lower working interest in that existing 1280 there. The balance of the interest in there, an overwhelming majority of it is owned by Savannah. We have been in discussions with them about developing it, and they've been supportive of the 4 mile development. The reason that 1280 has not been developed has been a number of surface hurdles that would have to be met in order to do that traditional 1280 development.
Sure, thank you. I have no further questions for Mr. Sandberg. I'd offer the land exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from staff? Mr. Prim,
Yes.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
John, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed, in what capacity, and give us your business address?
Yes, my name is John Prim. I'm a geologist for Ford Energy, parent company of Whiting Oil and Gas. Business address 1001 Fannin Street, Suite 1500, Houston, Texas 77002.
And John, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes, I have.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes,
And are you familiar with the geology underlying the proposed spacing units?
I am.
I'd move the testimony of Mr. Prim be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And John, let's start with G1. Can you take us through the structure underlying these two spacing units?
Yeah, so G1 shows the upper Bakken structure map with contour intervals of 25 feet in subsea TVD space. The map is centered over 150 north, 102 west, and I've highlighted the 2 proposed spacing units there in green and yellow. And what it's showing is that the structure underlying these 2 units is dipping gently to the northeast. I've also shown there the location of the type plot I'll show in G3 of the Alexander 3.7 there, section 3.
Okay. Let's, can you take us through your isopac map, exhibit G2?
Yeah, so G2 is over the same area, showing the middle Bakken thickness isopac map. And what you can see there, the contours are showing that there's approximate thickness of 24 to 26 feet across these 2 proposed DSUs, with an average about 25 feet.
Okay. And then G3, can you walk us through your type log?
Yeah, so G3 is that Alexander 3-7 that I highlighted previously, centered over the middle Bakken up to Three Forks first bench, showing the subsurface properties that we expect to encounter if we were to drill these wells.
Okay, I have no further questions. I'd offer the geology exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
John, just a couple of things real quick. On G1, contour interval on this one is 20 feet, correct? The
Yes,
leg-
that's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
the legend says 25, but it's 20?
Yes.
Okay. And then on
Apologies.
G2, that's a 2-foot contour interval on that one, right?
Yeah, I caught that one while talking. You might have heard me hesitate there. I'll get that corrected.
I figured that's about what you were about to say, but, all right. And I guess just confirming your intended target for the wells is going to be the Middle Bakken?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. McNeely?
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
Caitlin, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed and what capacity, and give us your business address?
My name is Caitlin McNeely. I am a development engineer employed by Whiting Oil and Gas Corporation, a subsidiary of Cord Energy. I'm located at 101 Salmon Street, Suite 1500, Houston, Texas, 77002.
And Caitlin, have you previously testified before the commission?
I have not.
Okay. Can I have you briefly describe for us your educational background and relevant work experience?
Sure. I have a Bachelor of Science in Geological Engineering from the South Dakota School of Mines and Technology. I have 13 years of professional working history in oil and gas, including being a field engineer for Baker Hughes in the Williston Basin, a technical sales engineer for BJ Services, an engineer in the Natural Resources Unit at KLJ, and a regulatory specialist and now development engineer for Cord Energy.
And Caitlin, are you familiar with the engineering matters that are associated with these proposed spacing units?
Yes.
Okay, I'd move the testimony of Ms. McNeely be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And Caitlin, let's start with your E1. Can I have you describe for us how you would develop each of these proposed spacing units?
Yes. So first highlighted in red is the unit in sections 5, 8, 17, and 20, with the pads shown off-lease to the north in gray. This will be an expansion to an already constructed whiting pad. Highlighted in blue is that second unit covering sections 4, 9, 16, and 21. The preferred pad location, also shown in gray, is also likely to be off-lease, but we're still scoping out those locations. The purple dashed lines are the proposed middle Bakken wells. There's 3 in each unit for a total of 6. And then also wanted to display that orange in the background is showing surface from the national grasslands.
Okay. Let's move on to E2. Can you summarize for us the reservoir data and then the economics?
Yep, so we are expecting to recover about 732 MBO with an investment of about 10.1 million per well and a discounted PIR spend of 0.74.
And Caitlin, in your opinion, if the commission were to establish these stand-up 2560s to allow for these 4-mile lateral wells, would that prevent waste, protect correlative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yeah.
Okay, I have no further questions. That offer the engineering exhibits and the gas capture plan affidavit.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Caitlin, looking at your E1, it looks like that middle well on the western 2560 is planned to deviate slightly to get towards the middle of 17 and 20. Is that the actual well plan?
Yes, we haven't fully developed the well plan yet. However, that is our intention to kind of nudge a little bit to the east to make sure that we can capture that bit of 17 and 20 that will not have that 2-miler there.
Okay, and so just confirming then your discussions with, I think Greg mentioned Savannah, indicate that they do not plan to drill the 1280. They have trouble getting a surface location to do so?
That is correct.
Okay. So at this point, or this time, it'd be appropriate to, I guess, disband that 1280?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Caitlin, it looks like you don't have any number of stages for this completion of these 4 miles. Is it going to be similar to the wells to the west in terms of stage spacing?
It'll be, in terms of stage spacing, what we completed for our first 4-miler on the right set.
Okay. Do you know approximately how many stages you guys?
I don't. That's something that I can look up and get back to you if you need it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Caitlin.
In section 17 and 20, I'm struggling to believe that we're adequately draining that part of the reservoir with 3 Middle Bakken wells. Can you help me with that? And then the other is your economics around, when is this going to be drilled and completed?
It will be in Q1 of 2026.
Okay. And your guys' strip price for Q1 2026 is $75 a barrel, is that correct? Or is that just, and then I don't see a rate of return on here?
So when we ran these economics, we did do it at $75 oil. However, we have ran sensitivity pricing analysis. And so we're still confident that these will be economic at the current prices, but they're just not shown on here.
Okay. Do you have any, I mean, you guys have ran that, do you have any idea of, if there's the ability for additional wells in 17 and 21? I mean, once you drill these, that's kind of it.
Right, and we've evaluated this area quite a bit and the different options to develop it, but ultimately decided to forego doing a 2-mile there in 17 and 20, decided that was the best option, just due to surface location and access and takeaway and et cetera, and we're fairly confident that we'll still get that recovery there.
Okay. Do you plan on adjusting your frac size in 17 and 21, or same as you would do in 15 and 18?
Yeah, we are going to be evaluating our frac program and see if we need to do higher intensity completions in those 2 sections.
Okay, and then are both of these pad sites on private fee or private surface? Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes our hearing for case number 31628. Case number 31629, application of Whiting Oil and Gas Corp. for an order amending the applicable orders for the Foreman Butte and/or nameless Bakken pools, Mackenzie County, North Dakota, to 1, establish an overlapping stand-up 2560-acre spacing unit described as sections 3, 10, 15, and 22, Township 150 North, Range 102 West, and authorize 1 horizontal well to be drilled on such unit. 2, establish an overlapping stand-up 5120-acre spacing unit described as sections 3, 4, 9, 10, 15, 16, 21, and 22, Township 150 North, Range 102 West, and authorize 1 horizontal well to be drilled on such unit. Or 3, granting such other relief as may be appropriate. I will note that the 5120-acre space unit consisting of sections 3, 4, 9, 10, 15, 16, 21, and 22, 150, 102 has been withdrawn from this case. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Whiting Oil and Gas Corp. And the same 3 witnesses will testify in this case.
And they're still under oath.
Okay, and Greg, let's look at L1. Can you identify the proposed 2560 here?
Absolutely. L1 locator map showing section 3, 10, 15, and 22 of Township 50 North, Range 102 West.
Okay, and moving on to L2, can you tell us your working interest in that spacing unit?
Yeah, L2 shows the working interest at 90.17% in that same proposed 2560.
Okay, and then L3, can you describe the working interest in the underlying spacing units?
Absolutely. In the northern 1280 there, section 3 and 10, we have an 85.34% working interest. Southern 1280 at 15 and 22, a 95% interest.
Okay, I have no further questions for Mr. Sandberg. I'd offer the land exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? You can proceed.
All right. John, let's look at G1. Can you take us through the structure underlying this spacing unit?
Yeah, so this is going to be the same map that I showed the previous exhibit showing the Upper Bakken structure. And unfortunately, I carried over the same errors as before, so I'll get those corrected on both G1 and G2. But it's showing the Upper Bakken structure in subsea TBD space. and the proposed spacing unit outlined in green there. And as you can see from the contours, it does dip slightly, going both to the north and south, if you're looking at it from the center of the proposed DSU there. But just a gentle dip off to the north and off to the kind of southeast there.
Okay, and let's move on to G2 and run through your ISOPAC map.
Yep, and so here we have contour intervals of 2 feet, as previously mentioned, showing the middle block and thickness over the area with the proposed spacing unit in green. And once again, it's about 25 feet on average across this proposed spacing unit, as much as 26 there in the northern section 3 there.
Okay, and then G3, what are we looking at with that type log?
In G3, this is that Alexander 3-7 that I showed in the previous exhibit, outlined or highlighted on the previous 2 maps, showing the subsurface properties that we expect to encounter in the reservoir interval underneath this DSU.
Okay, I have no further questions for Mr. Prim. I'd offer the geology exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? You can proceed.
Okay, Caitlin, let's look at E1, and can you tell us how you would develop this 2560?
Yes, so highlighted in red is the unit covering sections 3, 10, 15, and 22. We're planning on drilling this from the same pad discussed in the previous case, shown in gray off lease there in section 33, but we are still scoping location. And the purple dashed line is the proposed middle Bakken well. There are 2 dashed lines that are showing our planned future 1280 development that are not a part of this case.
Sure. Let's move on then to E2, and can you take us through the reservoir data and the economics, presumably pretty similar to the last case?
Yes, sir. This is exactly the same as the last case, 22% water saturation, 2560 spacing, and the same economics, 10.1 million per well, and 732 MBO EUR.
Okay. And Caitlin, again, if this spacing unit's approved to allow for the 4-mile lateral, would that prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
Okay, I have no further questions. I'd offer the engineering exhibits and the gas capture plan affidavit.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from staff?
Caitlin, the 2560 well and the 2 future 1280 wells, are those going to be drilled from the same pad?
They most likely will not. We're still scoping what we can do there location-wise, but those 2 1280s will likely be drilled from a different location.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes our hearing for case number 31629. Case number 31630, application of Hesbach Investments 2 LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Ray Bakken Pool, Williams County, North Dakota to 1, establish an overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit described as sections 1930 and 31, Township 157 North, Range 96 West, and authorize 3 horizontal wells to be drilled in such unit. 2, establish an overlapping 3840 acre spacing unit described as sections 24, 25, and 36, Township 157 North, Range 97 West, and sections 19, 30, and 31, Township 157 North, Range 96 West, and authorize 1 horizontal well to be drilled on such unit, or 3, granting such other relief as may be appropriate. This case has been continued to our May hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31630. Case number 31631, application of Hesbach Investments 2 LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Ray Bakken Pool, Williams County, North Dakota to 1, establish an overlapping 1920 acre spacing unit described as sections 6, 7, and 18, Township 157 North, Range 96 West, and authorize 3 horizontal wells to be drilled on such unit. 2, establish 2 overlapping 3840 acre spacing units described as sections 1, 12, and 13, Township 157 North, range 97 west, and sections 6, 7, and 18, township 157 north, range 96 west, and sections 5, 6, 7, 8, 17, and 18, township 157 north, range 96 west, and authorize one horizontal well to be drilled in each such unit, or 3, granting such other relief as may be appropriate. This case has been continued to our May hearings. That concludes our hearing for case number 31631. And before we dive into the next three cases, why don't we take a 10-minute break?
Sounds good.
Okay, we are back on the record. And we'll continue with case number 31632. Application of Hesbach and Investments 2 LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Alger and/or Rosbach and Pools, Montreal County, North Dakota, and to, 1, establish an overlapping 800-acre spacing unit described as the southeast quarter of Section 28, east half of Section 33, Township 157 North, Range 91 West, and the west half of Section 6, Township 156 North, Range 91 West, and authorize 2 horizontal wells to be drilled on such unit. 2, establish an overlapping 1120-acre spacing unit described as the southwest quarter of Section 29, west half of Section 32, Township 157 North, Range 91 West, and the east half of Sections 2 and 11, Township 156 North, Range 92 West, and authorize 3 horizontal wells to be drilled on such unit. 3, establish an overlapping 1,600-acre spacing unit described as the southwest quarter of Section 28, southeast quarter of Section 29, east half of Section 32, west half of Section 33, Township 157 North, Range 91 West, and all of Section 1, Township 156 North, Range 92 West, and authorize 8 horizontal wells to be drilled on such unit. Or 4, granting such other relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Hesbach and Investments 2 LLC. Have 3 witnesses appearing telephonically, Levi Greenlee, Jacob Smith, and Aisha Keshemir. And all 3 of them should be on the line. And just, Mr. Commissioner and staff, these 3, this case and the next 2 cases are all sort of related, tied together, and relate to development, primarily like Ross Field, a little bit north of Stanley in the White Lake area. And you'll see there some of it's, a little bit unique spacing, but due to, the lake and some of the existing spacing and development in the area. But I think as you see, kind of as we go through each of these cases, the first, it kind of goes from west to east and then south. The spacing, you'll kind of see how it kind of fits together. And at the end, we've got, a map that shows kind of that full area development and kind of demonstrate how it's, it is a pretty good plan of development overall. So with that, Levi Greenlee will be the first witness.
Mr. Greenlee,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
Levi, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed in what capacity, and give us your business address?
Yes, my name is Levi Greenlee. I'm employed by the Hess Corporation as a senior land negotiator with the business address of 1501 McKinney Street, Houston, Texas 77010.
And Levi, have you previously testified before the commission?
I have.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the land matters associated with the proposed spacing units?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'd move the testimony of Mr. Greenlee be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And Levi, let's start with exhibit number 1. If I can have you identify each of the spacing units you're proposing in this case.
Yes. First off, I want to apologize to the examiner for the mouthful on all these cases. They're quite lengthy. But the exhibit 1 is the location map of Township 156 North, Range 91 West, Township 156 North, Range 92 West, and Township 157 North, Range 91 West, in Montreal County. In blue are the existing DSUs. In green is the requested overlapping 800-acre stand-up DSU. In orange is the requested overlapping 1,600 stand-up DSU, and in red is requested overlapping 1,120-acre stand-up DSU.
Okay. And let's move on to exhibit number 2. If we can start with the proposed 800-acre spacing unit first and identify your working interest in that proposed spacing unit.
Yes, exhibit 2 shows the 800-acre spacing in blue. We have the Hess-operated RS Adnet DSU, where Hess owns a 76.62% working interest, and Northern Oil and Gas owns 20.38%, and others remain 3%. And orange, we have the Hess-operated RS Star DSU, where Hess owns 99.3% working interest. The combined working interest
the proposed 800 spacing is Hess with 91.38 and others with 8.62.
Okay. And let's move on to exhibit number 3, the proposed 1120. Can you take us through your working interest in that spacing unit?
Yes, in the proposed 1120, we have the Hess operated RS admin issue, where Hess has that 76.62%, Northern with the 20.38, and others 3%. And then in orange, you have the Hess operated RS Juma issue, where Hess owns 66.36% working interest, Lime Rock with just under 20%, Missouri River with 10.69%, others with 3.66. In the proposed 1120 spacing, Hess will have a 68.31% working interest, Lime Rock with 0.62, and others with 16.07% working interest.
Okay. And then let's go to exhibit number 4 and the 1600, and let's go through your working interest in that spacing unit.
Yes, in the 1600, we will again have the Hess operated RS Adnet issue with Hess 76.62, Northern Oil and Gas 20.38. And then in orange, you have the RS Armor issue, Hess operated issue, where Hess will have Hess has a 78.8% working interest, Lime Rock 10%, and others 11.17. In the combined working interest of the proposed 1,600 acre DSU, Hess will have 78.39% working interest, Lime Rock with 8.3, Northern Oil and Gas 0.88, and others with 9.61.
Okay. I have no further questions that offer the land exhibits 1 through 4.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Leva, I have to ask this somewhat rhetorical question, but could a lot of this been avoided if we wouldn't have spaced the original space units across the township line?
Potentially. I think a lot of it has to do with the admins of, the original wells.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Smith,
Yes, sir.
you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief.
Yes, I do.
Jacob, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed, in what capacity, and give us your business address?
Sure. My name is Jacob Smith, employed by Hess Corporation as a geologist. Business address 1501 McKinney Street, Houston, Texas 77010.
And Jacob, have you previously testified before the commission?
I have.
You had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
I have.
And are you familiar with the geology underlying these spacing units?
I am.
Okay, I'd move the testimony of Mr. Smith be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And Jacob, let's look at Exhibit 5. Can you describe the structure underlying these spacing units?
Yes, sir. This is a structure map of the Middle Bakken Formation, contour interval 50 feet, showing formation dipping to the southwest. Existing DSUs in blue, requested in green, orange, red, and the purple A to A prime represents the location of the wells used in the next cross section.
Okay, and let's look at 6. Can you describe your cross section for us?
Yes, sir. So this stratigraphic cross section is from A to A prime of the previous exhibit, flattened on top of the Bakken, showing our targeted formation present continuous throughout the region.
Okay, I have no further questions that offer Exhibits 5 and 6.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? Ms. Ketchmere,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, I do.
Aisha, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed, in what capacity, and give us your business address?
Sure. My name is Aisha Kashmir, employed by Hess Corporation as a reservoir engineer. Business address is 151 McKinney Street, Houston, Texas 77010.
And Aisha, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes, I have.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the engineering matters associated with the spacing units?
Yes, I do.
I would move the testimony of Ms. Keshmir be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And Aisha, let's look at your exhibit number 7, and if I can have you describe for us your proposed development plan for each of these 3 spacing units.
Sure. The exhibit 7 is showing the development plan for spacing unit of 1600, 800, 900, and 1120 development plan in Rossville. And the gold lines are the proposed wells, and they will be drilled in the Middle Bakken formation.
Okay. And then let's move on to exhibit number 8. If you can take us through the reservoir data and then the economics for the, I guess it would be the 1600 and the 800.
Sure. Exhibit 8 shows the reservoir and economic summary for a single 2.5 mile Bakken well in Rossville. The expected EUR is around 550,000 tender barrels oil. Economics were run at 6 barrels oil WTI flat and 100% working interest. The expected NPV is around 3.4 million with 25% rate of return.
And then moving on to exhibit number 9, let's look at the reservoir and economics for the 1120.
Sure. Exhibit number 9, it shows the reservoir and economic summary for a single 3.5 mile Middle Bakken in Rossville. The expected EUR is around 830,000 tender barrels oil. Economics were run at barrels oil WTI flat with 100% working interest. Expected NPV is around 6.5 million with 37% rate of return.
And Aisha, would establishment of these 3 spacing units with the development that you've described, in your opinion, would that prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes, that's correct.
I have no further questions for Ms. Keshmir. In this case, I'd offer exhibits 7 through 9 in the gas capture plan affidavit.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Aisha, looking at your exhibit 7, the caption for the case for the 1,600 acre spacing unit indicates 8 wells to be drilled on the spacing unit. You're only depicting 5, it looks like. Is your plan at this time to only drill 5 wells on that spacing unit?
Yeah, right now it's 5 wells.
I'm sorry, what?
5 wells,
Okay, so 5 wells on the 1,600?
correct.
Okay, I guess when you're drilling across the existing Middle Bakken wells, do you plan to do anything special during your completions? Or during your drilling operations while you cross those existing well paths?
We won't, we're gonna be fracking into the wells and we won't be skipping any stages. Most likely those existing wells would be P&A before drilling.
So you anticipate plugging those wells before you drill the new wells?
Correct. But we keep them producing until the time of drilling those new wells.
Okay, thank you.
Aisha, did Hess evaluate finish drilling out 28 and 29 as a laydown 1280 as an option?
The 28 to 29, we did evaluate that it wasn't really economic. Like as an option, and it can, like, based on our spacing development plan, it's going to be drilling can take only 2 wells. So we have to build a pad for a 2-well pad. That's why the plan right now is most optimized, and it's going to prevent us from building a new pad for the drill as well.
And your 2 westernmost space units, are those wells going to be drilled from existing pads?
One of them will be drilled from an existing pad, and the other 2 will be a new pad.
So which one's the existing pad?
The existing pad is the RS-30, is the section 11.
In section 11?
Yes. The one in section 11, yes.
So,
This one, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, this is
Section.
it's section 1, sorry. It's north of the RSF partner.
so
It's
that's,
an existing pad that was, I'm sorry?
you're going to use the existing pad in section 1?
Yes, correct.
And in section 11, you're not going to use that existing pad?
Section 11 would be a new pad because we will have another 3 wells going south. It's the 2-mile lateral plus those 3.5 miles.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Aisha, there's I guess looking at Exhibit 1, there's a well in Section 31 that comes from outside the unit to inside the red 1120 requested DSU. I believe that's a Hess-operated well. Is that one of the wells that you guys plan to plug?
Yeah.
What? Is it P&A'd already?
No, not yet.
Oh. I don't see it. Is Section 31 part of a different spacing unit?
This is Levi. I'll chime in here. Yes, that was a part of the existing James Hill unit that we included in the spacing to the west for the RS Juma DSU. And we acquired that well right before the drilling of that. There's a chance that well is already P&A. I don't know that off the top of my head, but because we do have 2 other producing wells crossing that well bore already.
Okay. Is it P&A'd?
Yeah, Levi, our records indicate that well is plugged.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't want to say anything. It wasn't 100%, so thank you for checking that.
Okay. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
That concludes the hearing for case number 31632. Case number 31633, application of Hessbachen Investments 2 LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Rossbachen Pool, Montreal County, North Dakota to 1, establish 2 overlapping 2560 acre spacing units described as sections 23, 26, and 35, Township 157 North, Range 91 West, in the west half of Section 4 and east half of Section 5, Township 156 North, Range 91 West, in sections 22, 27, and 34, Township 157 North, Range 91 West, in the west half of Section 5 and the east half of Section 6, Township 156 North, Range 91 West, and authorized 5 horizontal wells to be drilled in each such unit. 2, establish 2 overlapping 5120 acre space units described as sections 23, 24, 25, 26, 35, and 36, Township 157 North, Range 91 West. In the west half of Section 3, all of Section 4, and the east half of Section 5, Township 156 North, Range 91 West. In Sections 23, 20, 22, 23, 26, 27, 34, and 35, Township 157 North, Range 91 West. In the west half of Section 4, all of Section 5, and the east half of Section 6, Township 156 North, Range 91 West, and authorize 1 horizontal well to be drilled on each such unit. Or 3, granting such other relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Hess Bakken Investments 2 LLC. And Mr. Examiner, these same area, we're just shifting directly to the east with this set of proposed exhibits, and it's going to be the same witnesses testifying on these.
Okay, they're still under oath.
Okay. And Levi, let's look at exhibit number 1. Can you identify for us each of the proposed spacing units that you're requesting for this case?
Yes, so the location map on Exhibit 1 has all of the existing issue outlined in blue. This map shows Township 156 North, Range 91 West, Township 156 North, Range 92 West, Township 157 North, Range 91 West, and Township 157 North, Range 90 West. This is all in Montrose County. So you have the existing issues in blue. Then you have the requested 2560 issues in green and in orange. And then you have the requested 5120 issues depicted in red and yellow.
Okay. And let's move on to Exhibit 2 then. Your working interest in that first 2560 to the east.
Yes, Exhibit 2 shows the land plat of the 2560 spacing. In blue is the Hess-operated R.S. Brady CSU, where Hess owns 82.4% working interest, others with 17.6%. In yellow is the Hess-operated RSR Anded CSU, with Hess owning 80.91% working interest, others with 19.09%. And in green is the Hess-operated RS Poland CSU, Hess with a 95.2% working interest. And then in purple, we have the Hess-operated RS Stray CSU, where Hess owns 100% working interest there. The combined working interest with the proposed 2560 is Hess with 89.63% working interest, and others with 10.37% working interest.
Moving on to Exhibit 3, the other 2560. Can you take us through the working interest in that one?
Yes, the second 2560 has the Hess-operated RS Brady in blue, with Hess having an 82.4% working interest. The Hess-operated RSR Adness in yellow, with Hess owning 80.91% working interest. Then we have the Hess-operated RS Poland in green, with Hess with a 95.21% working interest. And then in orange, you have the Hess-operated RS Star, where we have a 99.38% working interest. And then in purple, we have the RS Stray, the issue where Hess owns 100% working interest. The combined working interest of this 2560 is Hess with 90.07%, and others with 9.93% working interest.
Okay. Let's move on then to the 5120s, starting with Exhibit 4. Can you take us through your working interest there?
Yes, Exhibit 4 shows the 5120 spacing here. We have in blue, we have the Hess-operated RS Brady issue, with Hess owning 82.4% working interest. In yellow, we have the RSR Adness issue, with Hess with 80.91% working interest. In green, we have the Hess-operated RS Poland issue, with Hess owns a 95.2% working interest. In purple, we have the RS Stray issue that Hess operated at 100% working interest. In red, we have the Hess operated RS Beta issue, where Hess has 90.66% working interest.
plaque there, we have the EOG operated Clearwater DSU. Hess owns 0% working interest here, EOG with majority. And then in orange, we have the Hunt operated James Hill 524. Hess does not own any working interest in that DSU, and estimated that Hunt owns 100% of that holding. In the combined working interest of this proposed this proposed 5120 is Hess with a 67.75% working interest, EOG with an 8.38, Hunt with a 12.5, others 11.65. This lease line well was discussed both EOG and Hunt with no concerns on their part.
Okay. Then let's go to exhibit number 5, that other 5120, and go through your working interest there.
Yes, the last 5120 is the lease line spacing, and it includes the Hess operated RS Brady in blue, the Hess owning an 82.4% working interest, the Hess operated RSR Adness in yellow with an 80.91% working interest. In orange is the Hess operated RS Star with 99% working interest. In green is the Hess operated RS Pullen DSU with a 95% working interest. And then in purple we have the RS Stray that's Hess operated at 100% working interest. And the combined working interest for this spacing would be Hess with a 90.14% working interest and others with 9.86.
Okay, I have no further questions. I'd offer the land exhibits 1 through 5.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? You can proceed.
All right, Jacob, let's look at exhibit 6. Can you describe the structure underlying these spacing units?
Yes, sir. Similarly to the previous case, it's a middle box structure map with 50-foot contour intervals showing that formation is dipping to the southwest. The blue rectangles are the existing DSUs, and green, gold, red, and yellow are our requested. Purple A to A prime line represents 3 wells used in the next cross section.
Okay. And then looking at 7, can you describe that cross section for us?
Yes, sir. This cross section from 8A prime flattened on the top of Bakken formation, showing that our targeted formations are present continuous.
Okay. I have no further questions. I'd offer exhibit 6 and 7.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? You can proceed.
Aisha, let's start with exhibit number 8, and with respect to those 2 proposed 2560s, how you would develop each of them.
Sure. Exhibit 8 shows the proposed 2560 development in rock field. The bold dashed line are the proposed wells and the growth in the middle Bakken formation.
Okay. And then let's look at exhibit number 9, at, I guess, that easternmost 5120. How would you develop that?
Sure. Exhibit 9 shows the proposed 6120 development plan for the, and the bold dashed line is the proposed well, and will be drilled in as infill well, the Bakken formation, and will be drilled from the same batch, so it would be back drilled with the infill.
Okay. And then looking at exhibit number 10, how would you develop the other 5120?
Exhibit 10, same thing, shows the 2150 development plan. The bold dashed line is the proposed well, and will be drilled in with the Bakken formation, and the same thing drilled from the same pad with the infill well.
Okay. Let's look then at exhibit number 11, and can you summarize for us the reservoir data and then the economics for the proposed wells?
Sure. Exhibit 11 shows the reservoir and economic summary for a single 4-mile middle Bakken well in Ross field. The expected is around 900,000 cylinder belt oil. Economics will run a barrel oil, WTI flat, and 100% working interest. Expected MPV is around 9 million to 49% rate of return.
Okay. And Aisha, in your opinion, would establishment of these two 2560s and the two 5120s to allow for these 4-mile laterals, in your opinion, would that prevent waste, protect correlative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
Okay, I have no further questions. I'd offer exhibits 8 through 11 in the gas capture plan affidavit.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from staff?
Aisha, looking at your exhibit 11, the gross thickness that you have on there for the reservoir, you're indicating 78 feet of middle Bakken. It looks like, looking at exhibit 7, there'd be something on the order of 30 to 50 feet.
It's middle Bakken and
So you're combining a Three Forks number in there?
yes,
Okay, but you're intending to target only middle Bakken with the wells you're proposing to drill?
correct.
Okay. When you drill those middle Bakken wells, is it your intent to consider plugging the existing wells, or how do you plan to drill across those and do your completions?
Yeah, we attend to plug as well. They are mostly very low producer. Right now they're producing between 8 to 11 barrels per day. So yeah, the intent is to plug them and drill over the well.
Okay. Thank you.
That concludes our hearing for case number 31633. Case number 31634. Application of Hess Bakken Investments 2 LLC for an order amending the applicable orders for the Ross Bakken pool to establish 2 overlapping 1920 acre space units described as sections 7, 8, and 9, and sections 16, 21, and 28, Township 156 North, Range 91 West, Montreal County, North Dakota, and authorize 5 horizontal wells to be drilled on each such unit and granting such of the relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Hess Bakken Investments 2 LLC. Same area, just drop into the south, and we'll have the same 3 witnesses testify in this case.
And they're still on the road.
And Levi, let's start with exhibit number 1. Can you identify each of the proposed 1920s?
Yes, Exhibit 1 shows the township of 156 North, Range 91 West, Montreal County. In blue are the existing DSUs. One lay down 1280 of 7 and 8, one stand up 1280 of 9 and 15, and then another stand up 1280 of 21 and 28. In green is the requested overlapping 1920 down DSU, and in orange is the requested overlapping 1920 stand up DSU.
Okay. Let's move on to exhibit 2. Can you take us through the working interest in that laydown 1920?
Yes, Exhibit 2 shows the laydown 1920 with the Hess operated RSJ Nelson in blue, where Hess owns an 84.68% working interest, others with 15.32. And then in orange, we have the Hess operated RS State B DSU, where Hess owns a 49.45% working interest, Petro Hunt with a 14.85, and then a bunch of smaller other operators with 35.7% working interest. The combined working interest for proposed 1920 is Hess with a 72.77, Petro Hunt with a 5.02, and others with 22.21% working interest.
Okay. And then exhibit 3, your working interest in the stand-up 1920?
Yes, Exhibit 3 shows that this 1920 spacing will include the Hess-operated RS Stanley DSU, shown in blue there, where Hess owns 45.47% working interest, Northern Oil with a less than 29.5, others with 42.58% working interest. And then in orange is, again, the RS State B DSU operated by Hess, where Hess owns a 49.45% working interest, Petro Hunt 14.84, and others with 35.7. The the proposed overlapping working interest of this DSU would be Hess with 46.79, Northern Oil with 7.98, others with 45.2
questions that offer the land exhibits 1 through 3?
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? You can proceed.
Jacob, let's look at exhibit number 4. Can you describe the structure underlying this, or these proposed spacing units?
Yes, sir. So, this is a middle block construction map. Contour interval 50 feet, going formation dipping to the southwest, and the purple 8A prime represents 3 wells used at cross section. Blue rectangles are just yet used, and the green and gold are.
And then Jacob, on exhibit 5 in the packet we've got, it says case 31632, which was the first case. I don't know if it has that on yours. Can you just confirm though, is this cross section that we've got here, is that the cross section that you've got depicted on exhibit 4 in this case?
It's the same well, because they're too close to each other. Yeah. You have the Howell, Flickertail, and Jumeau. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Howell, Flickertail. Yeah. Yeah. Those are the correct wells.
Okay.
And yeah.
So we just have a typo on that case number, but what we've got shown on exhibits 4 and 5, it coincides.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct. Yep. So this one, the stratigraphic cross section from 8A prime flat on top of the Bakken formation, showing that our targeted formations are present.
Okay. I have no further questions. I'd offer the geology exhibits 4 and 5.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? You can proceed.
All right, Aisha, let's look at exhibit 6 and tell us how you would develop these 2 proposed 1920s.
Sure. Exhibit 6 shows proposed 1920 development plan for section 7, 8, 9, section 21, 8. The bold dashed lines are proposed wells and will be drilled in the middle Bakken formation.
And then exhibit number 7, is that just kind of depict the full development plan for each of these 3 cases?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
It's the full scale for the development plan.
Okay. And then looking at exhibit number 8, can you take us through the reservoir data and the economics for the proposed wells in the 2 1920s?
Sure. Exhibit, excuse me. Exhibit 8 shows the reservoir and economic summary for a single 3-mile lateral middle Bakken in rock scale. The expected EUR is around 780,000 standard barrel of oil. Economics will run at the same price, $62 per barrel WTI flat and 100% working interest. Expected MPV is around $5 million with 32% rate of return.
And Aisha, again, with respect to these 2 proposed 1920s, if they're approved, would that prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes, it does.
Okay. I have no further questions. I'd offer exhibits 6 through 8 in the gas capture plan affidavit.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff?
Wait, on exhibit 7, you have case 31634 listed twice up above. I'm assuming one of those should be 31633.
It's 31633 and 31634. It just shows each of those 3 cases and the spacing units kind of in development altogether. That just a typo. Yep.
Aisha, what's the anticipated spud date for the 2 proposed spacing units?
The spot date is around February 20.
Can you say that again, please?
February 2027.
Okay, thank you. And again, Aisha, the existing wells on the spacing units, are you anticipating plugging those before drilling these?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes our hearing for case number 31634. Case number 31635, application of Marathon Oil Company for an order amending the applicable orders for the Lost Bridge and/or Bear Creek Bakken Pool to establish an overlapping stand-up 38-40 acre space unit described as sections 13, 14, 23, 24, 25, and 26, Township 148 North, Range 96 West, Dunn County, North Dakota, and authorize one horizontal well to be drilled on such unit or granting such other relief as may be appropriate. All interested parties, please come forward.
Thank you, Mr. Examiner. Wade Mann, P.O. Box 2798, Bismarck, North Dakota, appearing in this case on behalf of Marathon Oil Company. I have three witnesses, telephonic, David Flynn, Sarah Beth Donaldson, and Julie Allen, and I need to call them.
Okay.
Hey guys, can you hear me? All right. They're all ready.
Mr. Flynn,
Yes, sir.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
I do.
David, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed in what capacity, and give us your business address?
Sure. David Flynn, ConocoPhillips Company. Address is 935 North Eldridge Parkway, Houston, Texas, 77079.
And David, have you previously testified before the commission?
I have.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the land matters associated with the proposed spacing unit?
Yes.
Okay, I'd move the testimony of Mr. Flynn be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And David, let's start with L1. Can you identify the proposed spacing unit for us?
Sure. L1 represents both 3840 spacing unit outlined in red, covering sections 13, 14, 23 through 26, and an existing 2560 spacing unit outlined in purple, covering sections 23 through 26, both in Township 148 North, Range 96 West, Dunn County, North Dakota.
Okay. And David, that existing 2560, that's inconsistent, obviously, with your proposed development. So if the commission approved the 3840, you would request that that be terminated. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Let's look at L2. Can you take us through your working interest in that proposed spacing unit?
Sure. L2 shows proposed 3840 spacing unit, sections 13, 14, 23 through 26. The tracks highlighted in orange represent where Marathon Oil Company / Burlington Resources Company LP owns a partial working interest. The tracks highlighted in white represent working interest owned by others. And the summary reflects Marathon Oil Company and Burlington Resources Company LP's combined working interest of about 30.5%. XTO's working interest of about 27.5%, and the remaining roughly 42% working interest owned by others. And on the next exhibit, I'll go into more detail of the working interest by existing spacing unit.
Yeah, let's do that then. Let's move on to exhibit number L3, and if you can walk us through that and the working interest in those underlying units.
Okay. L3 shows the proposed 3840 spacing unit relative to the existing spacing units. Marathon operated 2560 spacing units highlighted in yellow. The remaining 1280 spacing units are highlighted in orange, green, and blue, which are operated by XTO. And the table at the bottom represents the Marathon Burlington working interest by existing units and also shows the total number of acres.
And David, there's a few XTO-operated units impacted here. Have you communicated with XTO with respect to this proposed spacing and development?
I have.
Okay. And Exhibit L4, can you just identify that for us? Tell us what that is.
Sure. L4 shows the letter of support signed by XTO regarding this unit line well.
Okay. And obviously, looking at that, it appears to reflect that they're supportive of this spacing and also of Marathon drilling the well in the proposed spacing unit.
Yes.
Okay. I have no further questions that offer the land exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? Ms. Donaldson,
Yes.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, sir.
Sarah Beth, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed in what capacity, and give us your business address?
Sarah Beth Donaldson, a geologist at ConocoPhillips Company, located at 935 North Eldridge Parkway, Houston, Texas 77079.
And have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes, I have.
Have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the geology underlying the proposed spacing unit?
Yes, I am.
I would move the testimony of Ms. Donaldson be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
Sarah Beth, let's start with G1 and describe the structure underlying this proposed spacing unit.
Depicted in G1 is the Upper Bakken Shale structure map with a contour interval of 25 feet. The 3840 acre spacing unit is shown in the red dashed polygon. It has an average dip of less than half a degree. The white line from A to A prime with cross section shown in Exhibit G2.
Okay. And let's look at G2. Can you walk us through your cross section?
Yes. Cross section from A to A prime shows our primary target intervals in this area, the Middle Bakken and the Three Forks First Bench. The Middle Bakken and Three Forks thicknesses are consistent across the cross section with a thickness variation of less than 5 feet.
Okay. And then let's look at G3, and can you describe how you would intend to develop the spacing unit?
Depicted in G3 is our single well plan of development for our proposed overlapping 3840 acre spacing unit, shown in the red polygon, planned directly on the section line. XTO's overlapping 2560 spacing unit, shown in the purple dashed polygon, which will be terminated prior to operation. The single 3-mile well will be back drilled off the new pad as part of the 6-well pad location, shown in Exhibit G4. The pad has been built, nearing completion, with facilities on site. The pad is currently has an estimated spec date of Q4 2025.
Okay. And then let's move on to G4, kind of the expanded view, extending out a little bit, and kind of walk us through that exhibit.
Depicted in G4 is our full plan of development with a stand-up 2560 acre spacing unit and a proposed 3840 spacing unit. 4 wells will be back drilled to the north, with 2 to the south alternating between Middle Bakken and the dashed blue line, 3 Forks First Bench, and the dashed red line. The 6-well pad will be back drilled for frac.
Okay. I have no further questions that offer the geology exhibits.
Exhibits are admitted. Any questions from the staff? Ms. Allen,
Yes.
do you solemnly swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be true and correct to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes.
Julie, can I have you state your name, tell us by whom you're employed, in what capacity, and give us your business address?
Yes, Julie Allen. I'm a reservoir engineer for ConocoPhillips Company.
My address is 935 North Eldridge Parkway, Houston, Texas 77079.
And Julie, have you previously testified before the commission?
Yes, I have.
And have you had your qualifications received as that of an expert?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the engineering matters associated with the proposed spacing unit?
Yes, I am.
I'd move the testimony of Ms. Allen be received as that of an expert.
Motion granted.
And Julie, let's look at E1. Can you summarize for us the reservoir data and economics?
Yes. The proposed well is a 3-mile Middle Bakken well with an expected production of 817,000 barrels of oil. This is out of an original oil in place of about 24.2 million barrels for the 3840 acre unit, leading to a well recovery factor of about 3.3%. The well is expected to have positive returns with a BFIT NPV10 of about $10.5 million. The economics were run at a $50 per barrel WTI flat.
Okay, and let's move on to E2. Using that exhibit, can you describe for us how you would propose to drill and complete the well?
Yeah, the drilling and completion plan for this well is our standard well plan, which is to run and cement 7-inch casing past the kickoff point, then to run and cement a 4.5-inch liner approximately 15,000 feet further. We will be completing 56 stages in a plug-and-perf manner. The total well cost is expected to be around $11 million. And this includes location, drilling, completion, flowback facilities, and artificial lift costs.
Okay. And Julie, in your opinion, if the commission were to establish the 3840 to allow for that lease line well, would that prevent waste, protect relative rights, and prevent the drilling of unnecessary wells?
Yes.
I have no further questions. That offer the engineering exhibits and the gas capture plan affidavit.
Mr. Admitted. Any questions from the staff?
I have one. Julie, the economics are ran for Middle Bakken well. Do you have that for the Three Forks, or are you just using, are they similar or the same? Any difference?
The main difference will be just the 3-mile compared to the 2-mile Three Forks.
Okay. Thank you.
That concludes our hearing for case number 31